The Veeam data platform keeps businesses running. When it comes to data protection, the basic backup is long gone. IT administrators have to be calm and resourceful when it comes to defending and preparing against a ransomware event or any other disaster recovery event. Cybersecurity has now become everyone's responsibility. And when it came to disaster recovery, it's no longer a nice to have, but a need to have. That is why Veeam keeps it simple by developing 3 foundational pillars with data security, data recovery, and data freedom to ensure that IT administrators have a strategic way as well as a great way to be able to recover in the event they're hit with disaster. I'm going to take you through these 3 foundational pillars and how you can use them to strategize and build a better business continuity plan. So let's start with the first thing, which is data security. You have your basics, which is your primary site over here. You have your critical applications that are running off of, let's say we're going to use VMware as the hypervisor, and then you have your production storage. Maybe you're already taking advantage of some of those fundamental technologies. So whether it's high availability turned on, you're using storage snapshots off of the primary storage array. So we have our basic foundation of high available data, but then we also need to add in having that secondary copy or following a 3-2-1 strategy. So you have Veeam backup and replication here. And we want to make sure, again, data security is #1 priority. We're using multi-factor authentication, as well as we're leveraging some service accounts so that way the people that have access into our systems have the least bit of privilege that's necessary in order to do their tasks. You have your backups that are being written to a backup storage target of some type. Maybe this is a hardened Linux repository, so that way we know that if data gets written there, it can't be deleted or changed for a certain period, or it's leveraging some other type of immutable function as well. So this covers that first portion of having a secondary copy or your backups on-prem to recover to, but we also want to make sure we have another copy. And whether that copy has been written off-site, or maybe we're sending this copy to the cloud or to tape, this again gives us a good 3-2-1 strategy that we can follow from. And this works perfectly fine, again, right? If we have a file deletion, if we have some SQL or database administrators that want to do their own types of recoveries, we could give them power to do so here, and it's going to be fast and flexible from a recovery option. But this doesn't protect against ransomware, right? Maybe the secondary copy does, but if we want to be a little bit better prepared, especially with ransomware being considered a disaster, we want to ensure that we have another location that we can recover to, as well as maybe we have a natural disaster, right? If we're in a flood zone, or if we know that there's hurricanes that could potentially affect this data center, we want to make sure that when we're sending our critical applications, that they're going to be safe and available online. So let's take a look at our disaster recovery site. So we have a DR site that's here, and maybe there are some critical applications that we know need to be up and available at a certain time period or need to have available resources for us. And if you don't know what those resources look like, you can leverage something called Veeam. Veeam is a monitoring and reporting tool. It gives us comprehensive data as far as what our hypervisor looks like, what the Veeam backup and replication server looks like, but gives us information on how those critical applications are running on a day-to-day basis. So we can identify the CPU and the RAM that's needed in order for those machines to run efficiently. We can also identify the type of space they're consuming on the data store. And we also have some security alerts in here. There's a multitude of alerts, but some of the biggest security alerts are, what type of change rates or change deltas are happening on the virtual machine on a day-to-day basis, or maybe what are the change deltas on the backup files that are happening on a day-to-day basis. If it might seem like there is some unusual activity that could be giving us some type of ransomware event or alerting us to something that might be suspicious because it's not usual for it to have such high change deltas. So Veeam has a lot of great use cases to help us to prepare for our DR sites, but also looking at the information as it's running in real time. So once we have our Veeam set up and we know what type of resources that are needed over here, Next, we have our options for identifying what type of RPOs or RTOs we want to hit, or what's going to be identified as our SLAs. So within Veeam, we have technology for replication. So we can replicate these workloads over here, and this could either be using CDP-based replication, which gives us near time or near zero data loss, as well as just traditional replication, which is going to be snapshot-based. So now we can leverage those types of recovery tools or replication tools to ensure that those applications are going to be always available. We also have the option down here to leverage the storage arrays or storage-based replication. So that also gives us another fundamental way that we could do a build of our DR site or recovery of workloads if ever necessary. So we have all of this information that has been taking place, right? And the best thing next to do is to actually have this fully documented. So documentation is never anybody's highest priority, right? But it definitely does need to become a top priority for any business, especially when it comes to having successful disaster recovery plans in place. So Veeam Recovery Orchestrator gives us just that. It pulls in the information from Veeam Backup and Replication. It pulls in the information from Veeam One, and it allows us to dynamically set up documentation to how our workloads are being replicated, how they're being protected, but then also how often are we going to be testing those recovery scenarios over at our DR site so we know what SLAs we can actually meet for the business. There's also something in here called Clean DR. Now, Clean DR allows us to automatically take backups from either the virtual machines or even some of our physical servers, and we can automatically scan those and ensure that if there was anything malicious on them, that we find that beforehand before we recover here. And this can use an AV provider of your choice. It gets scanned in Windows, and you can scan up to 10 restore points at a time to ensure that the data that you're recovering here is always going to be clean and safe. Now, for all of our customers that are out there that don't have a secondary site, you are in luck. So we did coin this term of data freedom. So we want to make sure that you have flexibility when it comes to where you want to recover your data. So if you don't have the secondary site, you do have an option to do a recovery of it here into Azure. So we can do a direct restore of any of your backups, fully recover those up into Azure, and that can also be fully documented here underneath Veeam Recovery Orchestrator, so that way you know you have a plan in place that's been tested and the steps that are needed in order to follow that through. Data freedom, I think, is pretty much everybody's top need, right? Being able to choose what type of storage that you're running your workloads on, being able to choose the type of backup target that you want to be able to leverage, but then also being able to choose those recovery locations. It's your data, your responsibility. You want to have complete total control and ownership of that, and have the flexibility to be able to change as things occur inside of your infrastructure. So whether that's moving to a hybrid cloud strategy or bringing things back down on-prem, having a fluid solution that'll be able to move with that is key. So that's pretty much it. Those are the three fundamental pillars. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, as well as you're more than welcome to download a trial on the website.